How important do you think it is to buckle up before a vehicle heads off to its destination? Do you all consider what can actually happen if you don't put a seatbelt on? I'm going to tell you a short story about myself a couple years back. I was 16 years old along with my friend Carrie, which was 16 years old at the time also. We had just gotten our license about 2 weeks before this accident. We decided to take a ride in what we call a Rhino. It's not as big as a car or a truck or any vehicle at that matter, but it's big enough to have seat belts built in it for the safety of the drivers and the rider. The first thing I thought about was not having to worry about having to put my seatbelt on because it wasn't an actual vehicle. As we were riding down the street with our headlights bright and shining in the dark, Carrie's brother decided to try and scare us by turning off his lights on his four-wheeler coming full speed at us, and he thought we would see him and just get over on the other side of the road, but that was not the case. Carrie swerved into the ditch, and all I can think about was us flying out and it flipping on top of us. After swerving into the ditch, she hit a tree, and I got thrown against the front windshield, walking away with a busted lip, bruises everywhere, and Carrie, who had her seatbelt on, actually walked away with not one single bruise, scratch, busted lip, nothing. After that accident, I never thought twice about wearing my seatbelt. If there's a seatbelt there, it's going to be wrapped around me. How many of you, the question I have to ask, how many of you actually think about, your family members getting hurt or your friends, just strapping a seatbelt? How many automatically click it when they get into a vehicle? And does it even occur or cross your mind that taking 5 seconds to simply strap the seatbelt will save your life or somebody else's? I want to talk to you about the issues some of us have not wearing a seatbelt, and it can vary from person to person, such as believing wearing a seatbelt could actually be more harm to us than saving our lives in a car crash. But statistics show that seatbelts save lives, and when correctly wearing a seatbelt, it reduces the risk of fatal injury by 45%, and the risk of moderate to critical injury by about 50%. In 2002, seatbelt data was available for about 33,000 of those involved in a fatal car accident, and of that number, about 19,000 were not wearing a seatbelt. And to sum the statistics up, in 2009, seatbelt usage saved about 13,000 lives. And so another issue of some of us not wearing a seatbelt could be thoughts of having airbags to protect our lives if something were to happen. But statistics show that while wearing a seatbelt and having airbags saved about 4,000 lives, with about 3,000 fatalities, compared to wearing a seatbelt and just relying on airbags saved about 500 lives with about 3,000 fatalities. It's a very big difference, and it's definitely something to think about. But as I just explained to y'all, the problems on many people that don't wear their seatbelts, I will now explain to y'all the possible solutions to the problems. The first reason to always wear your seatbelt is, of course, safety first. The ways wearing your seatbelt to protect you is reducing the risk that you'll be thrown out of the vehicle, and also reduce the risk of being jerked around in the vehicle during an accident. Involved in a car accident, one of my friends she was injured very bad. She was a driver, she didn't have a seatbelt on, and got ejected out the front windshield, leaving her with severe head injuries, broken jaw, and much, much more. She was hospitalized for about 3 weeks. It was just very horrible. And then my other friend number 2, she was wearing her seatbelt and all she had was a broken leg. So the second reason is to always wear your seatbelt because it's the law. Saying click it or ticket doesn't really matter to some people. To me, it really does, because it's just one extra thing you have to deal with and pay for, and the law is no joking matter. For example, a driver who is not wearing a seatbelt will be fined about 2 penalties, I want to say, 2 penalty units and 3 demerit units. Um, a passenger that is over 16 years of age that is not wearing a seatbelt would be fined 2 penalty points, along with the driver being fined 2 penalty points and 3 demerit points. A passenger that is under the age of 16 years old that is not wearing a seatbelt will cause the driver to be fined with 2.25 penalty points and 3 demerit points. And note that one penalty unit is about $140. I don't know about you, but whenever I'm in a vehicle, I try to make everyone in the vehicle buckle up for the safety of myself, others, and when dealing with our lives and the law. But if the aggravating noise that keeps dinging every time you don't have a seatbelt on doesn't aggravate you enough to put your seatbelt on, I don't know what will. So every time when I hear about someone getting into a car accident, I ask if they were wearing their seatbelt, and more than half the time the people that I ask say that they weren't. They were killed or hurt because they didn't have their seatbelt on. But when on the subject about talking to people about the opinions on wearing a seatbelt and or not wearing a seatbelt, many people complain that they would much rather be thrown out of a vehicle if in an accident rather than being stuck inside of a vehicle. But statistics show that it is safer for a person to be inside a vehicle, as one cannot be sure like how they would get thrown out or where they would land or anything, so they say it's more safe to be inside a vehicle. So when getting into a vehicle, I strongly encourage you all to take a few seconds to slip that seatbelt on. If a friend or a family member got into a crash, wouldn't you much rather be told that he or she survived, by not going through the windshield, by putting on the seatbelt, or would you rather them saying, if only they had their seatbelt on? But a short clip on seatbelt safety I would recommend you to watch is found at www.directtrafficmedia.com, and I hope it touches your heart just as much as it touched mine, and maybe it'll make you think twice about putting your seatbelt on before you get into a moving vehicle at all. Thank you.